back to Skyrim, where we are vampire hunting. Kind of, not really. Oh man, this didn't go the way I thought it was going to go, like, at all in any way. Of course, the interesting thing is that I've seen vampires many, many times leading up to this. Apparently, the Dawnguard was a DLC, so I assume that when the DLC came out, vampires were not in the game. You can correct me on this. And then they sort of like were part of the world. Certainly at the point of the anniversary edition, they were like, yeah, there's vampires in the world and you can do whatever. Because I bumped into them loads of times. In fact, I own a house that is a vampire house. I own that. So that is one of my abodes, one of my many properties that I have across the lands. I am quite the real estate guy. So it was not a surprise that there was vampires, and therefore I was kind of less enticed to do anything that was clearly about vampires. It would have been a big deal when the expansion came out, for sure. But for me, it was like vampires are a normal thing. In fact, goblins are the most random thing that I've seen. I think I've encountered goblins twice in the entire game playthrough. I actually had a really nice side quest in a cave that I just stumbled upon. Where there was like a little nice mini story. And I think RPGs benefit a lot from just encountering little sort of whimsical stories that are going on that don't need fleshing out, and we need all this depth to it. And it was just an orc who was bullied, and then he fell over one day because he was kind of rubbish at hunting, and he fell into a bunch of like blue mushrooms, I think they were, or something like that, and they stained his skin blue. And the goblins, for some reason, saw him as a deity. They were like, oh, he's the god, and now he took up that mantle of being the blue god. But he's also like really a douchebag. And what he wanted was to actually build a goblin army in order to destroy all the people who had like bullied him when he was younger. So not the nicest person either way. He wasn't like he's like found a new life and he's going to be like, oh, I could be the king over here. And now he's got like, there are suspicious goblins who are like, I'm pretty sure he might not be blue. It was a great little mini story, and it gave me a new follower, a goblin follower, which then led to the point. So one of the mods, in order to have the various followers in the game, this is relevant to coming back to the Dawnguard, is that I seemingly can have infinite amount of followers, and it's become a problem. Like, they're in a train of people. I love Lydia the most. Inigo's pretty fun. He just throws some little banter out there. But I ended up with, like, Lydia, Inigo, and the Goblin. I was like, this is just ridiculous. Like, they all bunch up in various places, and I just can't get out. I'm like, they've got to go. They've got to go. But thankfully, the solution to all my woes was imminent. The Dawnguard. So why did I decide to do the Dawnguard? Because the guards kept harassing me about it. No matter where I went. Like, have you heard of the Dawnguard? There's the Dawnguard, you know. You should go and sign up with the Dawnguard. I'm like, okay. They harass me way more. Like probably 10 or 12x more about the Dawnguard than they do about the Imperials and the Stormcloaks, which I think is part of the main story. So I was like, right, fine. Just shut up. I'll go and do the Dawnguard. This started... My comparison to what the Dawnguard is a cesspool guild in World of Warcraft. It has the veneer and the shine of everything you want. As somebody who is looking for a guild, perhaps for the very first time, you're looking for a group, a motley crew that you can start to make friends with, build relationships with, and hopefully achieve some sort of common goal together, right? You're looking to maybe raid or do PvP or whatever it might be. And so you seek out a guild that meets that criteria. And on the outside, they've got everything you need. They've got active members, they've got an organizational structure, there's a guild master, there's officers, there's members, there's a Discord, there's maybe a website, there's maybe a Facebook group, like all the shiny things that guilds should have. And then you get inside, and it's just rotten to its core, like absolute maggot-crawling nightmares. And for many people, they don't realize how bad it is. And there was a guy, to give you context, as you approach the Dawnguard in this valley, it is a beautiful castle that they have, like this enormous, gorgeous castle. I was like, wow. And it's really like well-maintained, and there's people practicing outside, and you're joining alongside another newbie who's like, I'm really nervous. I'm going to join the Dawnguard. I'm going to fight vampires. I used to be a farmhand kind of thing. And then you go inside, and it's just cobwebs and broken barrels, and there's one guy, and there's just nothing inside. There's no other members. I don't know. I'm really curious about this, whether there's just a lack of like NPC presence to give it some fullness. You know, like this is an active crew of people. just because of they didn't want to stress people's PCs, right? Like adding more and more NPCs doing various activities can put strain on people's computers, certainly back in the day. So I wonder if they just decided not to, so it's more like a classic Atari angle, where it's like, just use your imagination, right? These are vampire hunters who are getting things together. By the way, you meet the leader, and just before this, I'd actually accidentally stumbled upon a tower of people who aren't Dawnguard, but they follow a similar path, but they also hate everything. They hate the Daedra. They hate anything that's sort of fantastical and not just human. They're like the uber racists of this world in a way. They just like things to be human or not or whatever, and that's it. And anything else, they need to be killed, which is awkward because I'm a werewolf. So I did do a quick save just for science to see what would they do if I turn into a werewolf, and they immediately just like attack you. But they've also just recently been devastated. I forget their name right now, but they've just been devastated as well, and there's only 3 of them. That's all that's left. So it does look like the sort of the mystical defense team, we'll call them, of the Dawnguard and these guys are not doing particularly well in their battle against the dark arts. Let's put it that way. They're not doing super well. Everybody seems to be kind of battered to a pulp, or perhaps they're relatively new and they're trying to gather strength because of the encroaching vampire, werewolf, Daedra nightmare. Something along those lines. By the way, I met the guy with the Dawnguard. I did like the subtle, whether they were doing this for story pacing to get you going, or whether it was supposed to highlight that you are clearly a seasoned veteran. Like, you don't really do an application process. He's like, oh yeah, it's you. You need to go and check this out and find out what the vampires are after, because they've just sacked one of our strongholds. And you need to go and find out what the hell is going on. I'm like, all right. And then he goes to the noob and he's like, okay, you clearly suck. Like, pick up the crossbow, aim, and this newbie's like, oh, I've only ever held a rake or whatever, and it's like, okay, I clearly rock in as like this muscle-bound monster with blood dripping from my feet no matter where I go, and he's like, yeah, you're good, you're in. It's my passes. Again, a WoW reference here, but can you blame me given my history? You've got good logs, you're all right, you good. This guy, not so much. You need a little bit more work. So I was like, oh, okay, we're going hunting. We've got this storyline, right? Where the vampires are after something, and now we're part of the Dawnguard. Now we need to go and figure out. What a 180 the story takes immediately. I assume it's a choice that you can make, but what a very, very dramatic 180 this takes, because 5 minutes later, I am a vampire, and I now, like, screw the Dawnguard. I assume I can go the opposite way and stay with the Dawnguard, but how are you going to turn down being a vampire? Well, let me tell you, because being a vampire kind of sucks, and I want to get rid of it as fast as humanly possible. But before we get there, we did meet Lady Jaina Pramor, Laura Bailey. I forget the name of her character that she voices, but we find this lovely, again, dungeons in Skyrim are 10 out of 10. They're so varied, they're so fun, they're so interesting. And we find this enormous platform with some interesting puzzle solving that was relatively simple to do. And then this sort of coffin rises out of the ground and we meet our new companion. I believe, from what I remember, that people are telling me is like the Dawnguard DLC is when they actually introduced companions so you could have someone follow you. Like before this, you were on your own, but now you were allowed a companion and she was the first. And she's a vampire, clearly. And she's like, I don't know where I am. I don't remember what's going on. I don't know how long I've been trapped, but blatantly from some simple Q&A, she's been trapped for possibly hundreds, if not thousands of years. And she's like, can you please return me to my family? And other than that, she's incredibly vague. There is no answers to be gotten here because they want you to uncover the story as you go. So you can ask her a bunch of questions and she's like, I don't know. I don't know. Why are you down there? I don't know. I can't remember. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Let's just go and meet my family. So where we did. We went to the old vampire castle and met her dad. And there's definitely some daddy-daughter issues happening here. Because Mummy apparently was a betrayer or something along those lines. And he's like, do you want to be a vampire? And I'm like, well, yeah. I want to be a vampire. I've been a werewolf for a while now. I can be a vampire because it removes being a werewolf. Like, it trades it. You can only be a werewolf or a vampire. So I did that. I became a vampire, which is... It's just not as fun as being your own guy. That's the problem with both werewolf and being the vampire. That's what I found with these transformations. At least for me. They're just not as fun as being your guy. I like my guy. The vampire controls, like, drains blood and shoots magical powers and all that kind of stuff, and floats around, and yeah, sure. And the werewolf runs around shredding people up. But you can't do a bunch of things when you're in transform mode, and there's, like, an incentive not to, like, loot things properly and kind of get through the zone, and I don't like that. I like working through the dungeons at my own pace. So I've essentially just stopped being the vampire within, like, 10 minutes. I was like, I'm just not digging the gameplay. Simple as that. I'm just not into it. So I'm just not going to do that. And that's what made it even worse, is I very quickly found out that when you're in sunlight, you get, like, no stamina regen because your skin is burning, your blood is boiling. There's all these kind of debuffs that happen with being a vampire. I'm like, this kind of just blows, especially if somebody who's kind of stamina reliant in order to swing my heavy mace. So yeah, I'm not a fan of being a vampire, and I'll probably change out of it or get rid of it once the storyline is concluded. Just to let you know. Either way, the story was really fun. They've obviously put a little bit more effort into this. The first thing to do, which I really liked actually, was to visit what is clearly a vampire trap. It's like incredibly obvious, but you play along anyway. I was kind of... This is where some Skyrim jank started to really kick in heavily, which surprised me a bit. Although it probably shouldn't, that this was a DLC that you think they would have put a bit more time into, especially the early days of a DLC, like the introduction to it. They didn't do that. And in fact, turned out that what I thought was going wrong was correct. So it's arguable whether it's jank or not, I suppose. But you're in some sort of den where they're feeding you this blood scuba, this red scuba, and everybody's coughing, and all these, like, people have been trapped down there, and they're like, and I'm like, wow, this is gross. But they're like, you should drink some. Here, have some. And which is clearly drugging you. Then you wake up in a cage because they're just ensnaring wanderers by, and then they're going to feed on them because these are not part of your vampire coven. I don't know. What's the phrase for a vampire group? Some of you will know. Coven springs to mind, but I don't know if it is a coven. That's witches as well. I don't know. Whatever. Group of vampires. Family. Whatever. And I awoke in a cage, and I was like, what am I supposed to do here? So I was like, maybe once they recognize I'm a vampire, they'll be like, oh, you're a vampire? Oh, cool. Yeah, you're one of us. No problem. So I turned into a vampire, which immediately aggroed everybody and started killing me through the cage. And I was like, well, this has gone wrong. That's not the plan. So I reloaded. And it turns out, no, you are supposed to do that. And I was being filled in that different covens, we're going with the word coven, even if it's wrong. Different covens of vampires don't like other covens of vampires. I'm like, oh, you think you'd stick together, but here we are. And they don't care that you're a vampire. They're just going to kill you anyway. So I was like, oh, okay. We'll get away with it. So killed all those vampires and then moved on. This is where I was still trying to get used to being a vampire and have fun with it, but I didn't. As I just described. So I moved on. I went back to the house. Now I found the crimson thing that we're needed to create daywalkers, I think is the game plan here. Is Daddy's ultimate game plan is to rid them of the curse of the sun, essentially. Still wants to be a vampire, but, like, they don't want the debuffs and stuff, which I understand. So he's trying to create this blood serum type situation, which will free them of the negative impacts of being a vampire. So I was like, oh, cool. But clearly he hates his daughter, which I found the most fun thing. Side note here, this is where the companion thing kicks in. Is there's missions now to go to, like, Hogwarts and visit with some people there and get more information. And Laura Bailey wants to come with you, but she needs to be on her own. She's like, you can take me, but I need to be on your own. So I was like, okay. So I went and sent away every single one of my companions. I was like, this is kind of freeing, actually, and we'll do it the story way with her. And then all I needed to do was find her. Bethesda. The castle is relatively large, and it's full of people. I looked around this place for like 25 minutes, and we could not find her. And I'm not saying, like, the ubiquitous we as in just me. I mean, even my chat was like, maybe she's there. Maybe she's there. We looked everywhere for her. And then someone off the cuff just went, I bet she's sleeping in a coffin. And so I started checking all the coffins. No sign of her. And I'm like, what is going on? So in the end, we had to use a console command to warp me to where she was, right? Someone found out it's like, if you use this console command, you'll teleport to where she is. Because I was like, I can move her to me, But I want to know where she is, because we've looked everywhere for her. We went outside, we were checking all over the place, no sign of her. And it warped me, and I'm looking around, she's not there. In the darkest, shadowed area of the castle is another coffin that is lying on the floor in pitch black, and it's a black coffin, so you can't see it. And she's asleep in there. Nobody else is asleep. Absolutely nobody else. Just her had hidden. It was like hide and seek. It was ridiculous. And I'm like, why would you do this if this is somebody who's a companion who's supposed to come with you? You'd have them in a prominent position all the time. Like, you wanted them to move around, but keep them in the main hall or something like that. Just Bethesda, why? Why do you do these things? It's so stupid. Either way, we got her. I went on our merry way to Hogwarts, which was a little bit of fun to keep going back to Hogwarts and hating on it for being a little magic wizard school, where the storyline ultimately led us to Mommy might be alive. Like, the assumption at the beginning of the storyline is that Mommy died a long time ago and Daddy hates her and blah, blah, blah because she betrayed him. But Mommy might be alive. And then you have a little bit of puzzle solving as to where, if she was alive, where would she go where Daddy wouldn't find her because he would hunt her down forever or word would get back. And the answer is she's in the castle. Like, she's hidden somewhere where you would never look, which is at home. Which then led us to the sewers. Again, a little mini side story here of some of the vampires that have been banished from the court. And we're now hiding down and trying to build an army of rats and stuff to fight back against the vampires, which ultimately didn't work out, but still, it was great. But then led to something really interesting, which is where we're kind of up to. Is that we find Mommy's lab. She is alive, and she's traveled inside the soul crystals. And the soul crystals, apparently, when they empty, don't, like, dissipate. They go to some sort of ethereal world. And she's found a portal to get there. And because of their shared bloodlines, we can reopen it. And so we did this little bit of, like, find the ingredients and opened this portal into this very bizarre netherworld. This is getting cool. I don't know what's going on. This is where we're up to. Screw the Dawnguard, I guess. I was a Dawnguard member for about 5 minutes before I was fully on the other team. Even though I don't want to be a vampire, I'm kind of digging where this is going now in this weird world and going to find Mommy. And it's one of those storylines that I'm like, oh, I'm kind of interested in how this plays out. I want to see where this goes. Do we usurp the court? Are we going to get some real RPG choices is what I'm interested in. And that's where we're up to. So I left it there because I ran out of time to stream. But I was like, oh, okay, right. This is a good stopping point. Now we're in the ethereal world. Let's see what Mommy's got for us. Will we see a Lady Demetresque type character? Or will she be old and frail? And will she come back to rule over all the vampires? Or whatever the hell's going to happen here. I'm into it. I like the idea they got a fully fleshed out companion with it. This is cool. So far, so good. Skyrim continues to impress even up to these days. So, very likeful. I do want to put a note here is, there's obviously way too much here for me to, like, 100% Skyrim. I don't think that would be worth of any of our time, is to, like, do everything that's in the game right now, because there's still, like, I don't know, 70, 80 quests, and I've still not visited, like, 3 cities that I know of. And I bumped into a ton of places I just can't get into yet until quests start. Is if there's anything... I'll let you know when it's like, okay, maybe it's time we push through and finish off the story to end this playthrough. If there's like, no, you need to go and try this. You need to go and try that. Because there's no doubt a ton of things I haven't done yet. So I'll let you know when that's happening, but bear it in mind because Bex will relate it back to me via the comments. All right, so see you soon. Bye.